Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and it's a real privilege and pleasure to be with you today to talk a little bit about mental health. So thank you very much to the Guild of Architectural Ironmongers for inviting me along, and hopefully in this next session we'll just give a bit of an eye-opener about what's going on in the industry and some of the things we're doing about the problems that we have got around mental health. But what I thought I'd do was to start off with is I'd talk a little bit about who we are, why we exist, and what we do. And what I'd ask you to do is that if you've got any questions, then please put them in the Q&A, and we'll do a wrap up at the end and get the questions answered at the end, and hopefully give you some ideas of what you can do to help your workforce. But first of all, who are we? Well, we've been around for quite a while. The Lighthouse Construction Industry Charity has been around since 1956. And I hasten to add that I have not been around since 1956, just in case you're jumping to those conclusions. But it's been around quite a while, and it's 100% dedicated to the welfare and the well-being of the construction workforce and their families in the UK and Ireland. There's a little bit of mythical history attached to it, where there's a group of very senior people in the construction industry had met after an expo in the northeast of England, and they came out from probably some sort of establishment where they might have been having a beer, and they were talking about the number of people who had fatalities on the construction sites around the UK. And at that time in 1956, it was around about 200 a year, which was absolutely horrendous. And they decided that those families needed some help, and so together they put together a program of getting the charity together, and they were standing across from the Lighthouse, which was St Mary's Lighthouse in Whitley Bay, and they said, let's call it the Lighthouse Club and let it be a beacon of hope to everybody in the industry. Well, we have come a long way since 1956. It did start off very much as a benevolent charity, giving money to families that were in risk of going into poverty as a consequence of losing a loved one. And but we have come a long way since then. But why do we exist? And we talked about the number of fatalities on site way back in 1956, and safety has come on a huge way. We have been absolutely driving the safety initiatives on the sites tremendously well. But, and the big but is, we still lose about 30 to 40 of our workforce every year with fatalities on site. It's still too many. But the safety people are working very hard to make sure everybody gets home safe, and we've done many initiatives in that area. Probably a statistic that goes under the radar a little bit is that every single year we have about 2,000 accidents, quite serious accidents on sites, where it incapacitates the workforce in such a way, or the individual in such a way, that they can't actually go back to do the job that they used to do. And there's an awful lot of recuperation and issues attached to that type of severity of accident. Unfortunately, we haven't got a wonderful track record in long-standing illnesses within the sector, and the sector is the number one for occupational cancer cases as well, mainly tied back to asbestosis. And issues, but although silicon dust is right on the rise because people aren't wearing the proper breathing apparatus when dealing with these materials. But there's a couple of statistics that we really didn't get our hands on until a few years ago. The first one is a pretty major statistic, is that 20% of all reported work-related illnesses tie into stress, anxiety, or depression. That was a bit of a shock to the industry, that the mental health of the workforce was not good. And the industry statistic that has absolutely just knocked the industry for six is that every single working day we're losing 2 construction workers to suicide. Construction is the number one industry for suicides. And the thing is, it's not just the UK, in Ireland as well. 50% of all male suicides in Ireland relate to the construction industry. And it's actually quite a global issue as well. Suicides within construction are the #1 in Australia, and they're also the #1 in the US. So we have got a big problem within construction. And as I said, when you consolidate all of this information, if there's one statistic that you take away today just to process and think about what you can do about it, is that every working day in the UK and Ireland, we're losing 2 construction workers to suicide. And when you add that up, that's over 500 a year. And just imagine if there was maybe 2 or 3 plane crashes every year where all the occupants of that plane were killed in those accidents every year in the UK. What would we be doing about it? Well, this is the magnitude of the problem that we've got with inside construction. And we are all morally obligated to do something about it. And everybody can do something about it in a larger capacity, but everybody can do something about it in a small capacity. And I'll go on to talk about some of the things you can do about that later on in the presentation. So that's why we exist. But what are we doing as a charity to help mitigate these circumstances? Well, we set out on a mission. That no construction worker or their family should be alone in a crisis. Our idea is that somebody who is in a crisis should have somewhere to turn to get help and support. So to do that, we have created 3 major deliverables. First of all, we have a 24/7 construction industry helpline. It's available to anybody in construction in the UK and Ireland. And that helpline will help people out with their emotional well-being, their physical well-being, or their financial well-being. And we have got fantastic caseworkers that sit behind the helpline to really support people in a big way. The second thing we did, and along with the help from a software developer called Coins, who is 100% dedicated to construction industry, but they gave us the opportunity to build an app to support the helpline. And we're now in the 3rd iteration of that app. And it is a fantastic, handy little tool to have in your back pocket to pull out, to find out where you can go and get help, where you can look at coping strategies and other ways to find self-help and other places to go to for help. And the final charitable service that we deliver to anybody in the industry is proactive training. We've put together a whole suite of well-being subjects where people can go along and, again, access them freely. And they're all tutor-led as well. So there's opportunity to ask questions and get support, and there's some group activities within those as well. So those are the 3 things that we actually deliver to help mitigate the problem that we have in our industry. And they're all absolutely free. Everybody can get access to them. So the question is, are we on mission? How are we doing? Well, last year, during the pandemic, we had a pretty substantial growth in the calls to our helpline, and we helped nearly 2,400 families in the UK and Ireland. But the growth in complex cases was quite substantial. And what happens when we get a complex case, we give it to a professional caseworker. And that caseworker basically is a person, it's like somebody who's on your shoulder, who will help you through all dimensions of your problem. Not only the emotional well-being, but the physical well-being and the financial well-being. And they will draw on any access to any other type of support that could be in your local area to help you as an individual get through your problem. And when you look at what we did last year, there was a huge amount of issues came through in March, where the first lockdown came along. Our helpline went zooming up because people just didn't understand what was happening with the furlough schemes and how that was going to impact them and how it was going to impact their finances. And you nearly find that everybody who comes and presents themselves with a finance problem has, nearly often as not, got some sort of mental health issue behind it, whether that be anxiety or certainly stress and anxiety. And sometimes that evolves into depressive state as well, which we help out on all of those instances to help people get through this. But there was just simple things that we did during that time as well. We tried to educate people how to fill in the forms to get their state benefits, because there was many people not applying for things that they could absolutely legitimately get, but they just didn't know how to fill the forms in. And one of the forms that was never updated by the state was the question relating to, are you looking for work? Well, the answer to that, most people said no, because they were on furlough. But the thing is, that automatically knocked them out the system, because you have to answer yes to that. So the state systems had not been updated and people were getting kicked out of the system. So we helped them through that process to get their legitimate state benefits that they should have been entitled to, as well as their furlough activity as well. But during that year, we leveraged over £500,000 of other benefit that people were legitimately should be getting, which helped them a lot through that process and helped them through those really tough times, which hopefully are coming to some sort of closure. But we've seen this year already a vast increase in the number of calls through the early part of this year, and it's still continuing to grow because there's still a lot of anxiety about getting back to work and getting back to the job. And sometimes when we're looking forward to seeing probably another big change when furlough ultimately is stopped. Then we'll get the real consequences of what is actually happening with the companies. Are they going to take those people back on full time, or are they going to let them go? So there's still some big issues still to come, we think. If we look at the app, then again, this handy little tool has now been downloaded over 30,000 times, which is fantastic, but it could be a lot more. We believe that this should be in the hands of every construction worker as their buddy in their back pocket, because it really has got everything you need to help your well-being from all the three platforms of emotional, physical, and financial well-being. The tool itself goes into great detail in a language that most people can understand, and it's also got little videos in there, self-coping strategies, ways to analyze how stressed you are or how anxious you are, and obviously you can learn about that particular condition. And also when you push the button, it will then direct you to resources where you can get extra help, of which one is obviously the construction industry helpline, where we will help people. But if you are an anxious person and you know you're anxious and you just don't know where to go get the right, really good support, then inside the app it talks about Anxiety UK. They are the experts, and you can go directly to them to get support as well. The other thing that we're doing with inside the app, and it's just been launched, is that we created a whole network around the UK of mental health first aiders. And then we realised and recognised that those mental health first aiders who put themselves out there voluntarily to be on site, to be the go-to person, to give help and support on site, they need support as well. So we've built inside the app a button for them to get help and support. So if they've had a particularly tough intervention after taking on the weight of the emotional weight of the industry, then they can talk to somebody and get proper counselling, decompression and supervision to help them through that process, to put it into perspective, and so that lightens the load for them as well. And we'll talk a little bit about Mind Builder, which is an exciting new project as well that we've got working with the Samaritans along with the CITB as well, which is going to take us 18 months to build, but we've built it into the app just now, so the button is already there. And finally, the training courses, again, are all free. We've created a whole series of masterclasses. They last about 45 minutes, and they're packed full of simple, easy to follow information and guidance on some very good tools that you can use to self-help and put yourself into a better position. The courseware covers things like work-life balance, coping with stress, meditation, resilience training, mindfulness, and we even put one on about bang on budget, which is about helping people understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, and understanding how they can get themselves and manage their way out of debt, as opposed to getting really stressed out about it. And of course, we've got the mental health first aid aware courses and the mental health first aid 2-day courses as well, all part of this curriculum. And as you can see from that, last year we saw 2,700 people go through our courses last year, and they're all available. They're all available from the website. Simply register. Again, they're all free. So just if that is something that you can send out, you need, or you can send out to your workforce, please do so. They're absolutely all there for you to utilize. So if we look then about our challenges and beyond as well, I mean, yes, we have our challenges. And I think the biggest challenge that we've got as a charity, and again, I'm very thankful of this platform to be able to tell everybody within this organisation and membership group about us, is that if people in the workforce don't know that we're there for them, then we simply can't help them because they don't know we're there. So one of our biggest issues is to raise awareness about what we can do for them in their time of need. Also, just recognizing the fact that they've got to be in a position where they themselves want help, because you can't force somebody to take help, but they've got to recognize themselves that they've got a problem. But then they really need to know that there's somebody there for them 24/7 who's there to support them, and that's what we do inside the industry. So to raise awareness, and again, we'd be absolutely delighted if anybody in this organisation wants to take on this challenge. But we started a new campaign. It's called Help Inside the Hard Hat. It basically is a message that we want to get out to all of the workforce. And the way we looked at this is that we wanted this message to not only be inside the hoardings or inside the site, but it's a message that we could actually put outside the site, because I'm afraid our industry hasn't got the best reputation for mental well-being and looking after its people. But this message, whether it be inside the hoarding or outside the hoarding, inside the site or outside the site, gives a message to everybody that we are genuinely trying hard to look after our people in the best way we can. So the message is our industry can be physically and mentally tough. Together with partners, that'll be you, and donors, that hopefully will be you too. The Lighthouse Construction Industry Charity are working night and day to ensure no worker or family feels alone in a crisis. So if you or a workmate needs support, we're always here to help inside the hard hat. And then if we look at the postering campaign that message is contained in, then first of all, we changed it, because last year we were going to launch this last year and we're in black and white and they were very stark. But we decided to change it to colour to again offer that beacon of hope. Colour offers hope. And we've got these posters available, again, all free of charge. They're downloadable from our website. So there's no excuses if you need to get hold of them. They are print-ready artwork. And inside them, they contain quite strong messages inside them as well. They are thought-provoking. He was the Joker, the one who made everyone on site cry with laughter. And then one morning, we just cried. And then you read the next bit, which says, we are here to help inside the hard hat. And the number is on the poster as well. So they're quite thought-provoking little vignettes across the piece. She was the last off-site every day. Then one night, she left us way too early. So again, thought-provoking. If you or one of your workmates needs some help, there's always help inside the hard hat. So again, if you can get hold of these posters, they say they're free and downloadable from our website. Print-ready artwork from A3 or A4 all the way through to hoarding size. You can print them off, and we've even got ones where if you wanted to put your company logo on one of the posters, it's there, and basically it says ABC Company, proud to support Help Inside the Hard Hat. So you can put your own logo on them. If you've got somebody who can work with artwork files, you can make those modifications and get them out on site. So that's something that can be done right away. If that's something that's in your gift to be able to deliver, that's definitely something that can be done. Just help people know that we're there for them. Should they be having a crisis. The second issue for us is that it's been very difficult. We're a charity that relies heavily on event income. We do a lot of fun events around the country, and we're heavily reliant on that event income. So, last year was a real difficult year for us because we cancelled all our events. But we were very lucky. We put out a crisis appeal last year, and the industry gave us a huge hug, basically, and said, well, basically, if you're looking after our people, we'll give you the help to look after our people as well. And they were incredibly generous to us. But this year, we haven't got a crisis appeal. We can't do that every year. We need to look at different ways of making the charity more sustainable for the future. So we need to develop more annuity income, more income on a regular basis. And to do that, we introduced the concept of company supporters. So what we're trying to do is change the charity from being heavily reliable on unpredictable income through events, and at least get us up to 50-60% ultimately of reliable income with companies that are quite happy to put a pledge in every year and just basically donate to us on an annual basis, because they know that we are helping the workforce, not only just the staff of maybe your company, but also your subcontractors, your subcontractors, and everybody in that supply chain. We will help to support as well. So that's what we're looking for, as well as companies to give us an annual pledge. That is like a golden nourishment to us as a charity, because on that basis we can actually plan our future and develop new services to be able to support people. The other thing is, obviously, but I think every company's got this, I think, is like, how do we work smarter, not harder? And one of the things is embracing technology. We've got to embrace technology, and we as a charity are no different from any other company. So we have been looking at embracing technology and using that to our advantage to get our message across. And the program that I would like to share with you is a fantastic new concept that we're building in conjunction with Samaritans, the Supply Chain School, and the CITB. Is we're building this basically a big library of fantastic well-being assets, video assets, and collaboration assets that anybody can get access to. Because one of our big problems is getting to the 52% of our population in the workforce that are self-employed and need our support the most. And this Mind Builder hub is going to be available to everybody. But it's going to take about 18 months to build, but everybody will have access to it. So how can you help? Well, first of all, spread the word. If the first thing you do is get hold of those posters, get them out on your sites, then build the awareness, help us through that, and take advantage of the training, etc., for your people as well. And the second thing you can do, if you can help us, is to help us keep it all free by helping us with an annual donation of some sort. Would be absolutely marvelous. But there's one little video that I'd like to show you now, just to finish off the presentation, that's got 3 golden nuggets that I think anybody can pick up and use today. So let me finish that presentation or that video, and if there's time for questions, we can take them straight after that. So I'll let the team play the video now.
Yeah, mate. Job's brilliant. It's going really well. Dry as a bone, no tea, no coffee, but listen, got to crack on. Need a favour. You know Steve? Yeah, divvy spread. I've got a horrible feeling he's not going to show next week. Can you try and sort us out a couple of lads to push the job on? Tony, you right?
How am I supposed to pay the mortgage? What's the wife going to say? What about the kids?
Got your reply from the shipping, mate? Mate, you're right. You don't seem yourself. I'm a bit worried.
Actually, no, I'm not, mate. I'm struggling financially. I just don't have a clue where the money's coming from.
Right now, our human spirit is being tested to the limit. So if you see somebody struggling, don't stand on the sidelines. Follow these 3 simple steps. Number 1, ask twice. You often get a different answer second time round. Number 2, listen, non-judgmentally. Sometimes it only needs a sympathetic ear. Number 3, always be kind. Spontaneous acts of kindness can give people a real lift, and it makes you feel good too. You could be a lifesaver today. All it takes is someone to notice and care.
So I guess we're back now. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I said those 3 little golden nuggets that you can take away and use in your daily life. And if you did, hopefully the world will be a better place over time. I don't know, Simon, if we get any questions that have come through during the session. There he is.
Bill, thank you very much. That was an amazing presentation, really thought-provoking. If our audience have got questions, please put them into the Q&A, and I can pick up on those and ask those across to Bill. What I'll do, though, first of all, is I'll take Chief Exec's privilege and ask you a question myself, which is, in a small organisation, what level of employees best to become a mental health first aider? Because I'm really keen to sort of not just use the app, but actually give people formal training. Should it be a manager? Should it be somebody who's on site all the time, or doesn't it matter?
But what you need is a volunteer. What you don't want to do is press gang somebody into being a mental health first aider. But I'd take it one step back, and what I would look is anybody who has got any people responsibilities, I would put them on there's a lovely little half-day mental health awareness course. And what that does is actually tune people into understanding and recognizing people who may well be struggling, that may need a little bit of help, and recognizing how to approach them and have a quick discussion. And then out of that mental health awareness program, you will find that some people will come forward and say, actually, I want to take that one step further, and they will volunteer the services to become a mental health first aider, which is a 2-day course. Again, it's run virtually now, so you don't have to travel to get to it, and we can deliver that for you. And at the end of the day there, but you got to remember, if somebody's a mental health first aider, they've done 2 days of mental health, they are not a counsellor. What they are there is just as the package says, their first aid, stop the bleeding and get that person to the right level of support. And that's their job. And they will be given some, extra help and support and understanding. to be able to do that. But it's a very good course, highly recommended.
Excellent. I'm really keen to see the GAI staff engage with this. On a personal level, I've seen the impact that mental health can have on a workforce, and it's not just the employee and their family, but it's the people around them at work as well, that it can have a really negative impact there. So I think we should all be getting behind this. In terms of questions, just a sort of practical one. Julian's asked, are Bill's slides video available to view following today's session? Have you got resources on your website, Bill?
This slide is not there, but what I can do is certainly make it available in a PDF format that I can send to you, and you can send it to the people who've been viewing or want copies of it, if that's easiest.
Well, we have recorded this session, so with your permission, we can share that with the membership as well, and they can perhaps use this as a starting point, and obviously then take things as appropriate for their business. Just a point that someone's raised, that our Midlands branch have been raising funds for you for quite a while, which is great news. So obviously I'd urge other branches, if they're looking for a charity, to get behind this one, if that's appropriate.
We love you, Midlands. We love you.
Well done, Karen and the team there. Okay. Comment there for somebody. Being able to open up in a safer space makes a huge difference. I definitely echo that. I think that one of the issues for mental health is that if someone sprains their ankle, nobody bats an eyelid at it. They don't see you as being weak if you've turned your ankle over playing football. But if your mental health is suffering, then that's seen as that's a real stigma, and we've got to get beyond that. And I think that's where the training and the talking about it come in.
Yeah, but very much. And there's two things that we advocate for that. First of all, we advocate this a Toolbox Talk. And we've got a downloadable Toolbox Talk, again, free of charge, where anybody who has got the ability to articulate themselves in front of a group of people, it's all scripted, and it manages the conversation and gets people talking about these subjects. But I think you mentioned it there, Simon, safe space is key to this as well. And we're experimenting around the country with what we call Lighthouse beacons, which we're putting into pilot at the moment, where we're looking at different units around it, because people like Andy's Man Gang, sort of Bill's Shed, there's a few of those around the place at the moment which are offering safe environments for people to go outside work to talk about issues in a safe environment. And we're experimenting with that to see if we can maybe scale that up to make that available to other people as well, and make it a bigger thing. Because we believe that's probably a really good way to go to get people to talk about things, because it's not always easy talking about this stuff when you're actually in a work environment. Although we advocate you could, but it might take some time to get there.
Absolutely. I think we're all on a journey, and I think this last year has shown everyone that mental health really can be damaged by what to the outside world might seem great. I've got a couple of months off, I'm on furlough, but actually that can have a real impact on people, and it's really important to acknowledge that. Another question, one in from Colin Campbell. Any advice, Bill, on for companies who have staff working remotely? A lot of our members are out and about on the road and on other people's sites. Any advice for them?
Is keep in touch. Genuinely, that's the best thing. If somebody is, isolation is one of the biggest issues that you will get when people are out on the road and working on sites, because it is a very transient workforce, and you'll come into a gang that's working in a project and you'll stay there for a short period of time. You might be away from your family for a short period of time. You don't necessarily have time to integrate with the team camaraderie that's around, so you feel very isolated. It's really up to the company you're working for to stay in touch and touch base on a regular basis. And the good thing is, you maybe love it or hate it, but this technology we're using now is actually a really good major step forward of staying in touch, because it was just with the telephone before. Now you can do it visually as well through any device, phone or whatever. And I think it's really important that work should stay in touch with people when they're working remotely as well.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm afraid we're running out of time. It's time's against us, so we've got to draw things to a close, Bill. Thank you again so much. I found that really, really useful. I'd also like to thank our audience for their questions and comments. I'd encourage everybody to visit the Lighthouse Club website, download the app for your own personal use, start the conversation within your workforce, and if you can, get your company to support the fantastic work of the Lighthouse Club charity, I would do that. On an individual level, there is a button on the website there in the bottom left-hand corner. I won't point because I'll probably point in the wrong direction, which says donate now to the Lighthouse Club. So if you were in the mood to make a personal donation to support the work of the charity, then you can do that through there. And I know you can get gift aid and things back, and so support that if you can. Great. Okay. The other point I was just going to make was make sure you support your own and your colleagues' mental health. It is absolutely important, as the video showed. Okay, just before we go on to the breakout sessions, my apologies. We got gremlins in the system, and Mario was talking about the launch of our new logo, and unfortunately you didn't see that. We will come back to that. We're going to get that working for you, so you get to see the logo. And if you want a sneak preview of it, it will also pop up during the presentation that Mario and Debbie are giving in breakout session 5. Okay, so moving on to our breakout sessions, which have kindly been sponsored by Abloy. If you pre-registered for them, these will show up in the breakout sessions tab on the screen on the left-hand side. Breakout 1 is 40 minutes long. Douglas Masterson, now overrunning, I'm watching you. The others are about 20 minutes each. Your chosen sessions will run until about 3:25 based on our current timings, and they'll be followed by a coffee break, which is sponsored by MB, but I'll see you before then. Stick around, we've got some fantastic content coming up, including the product showcases, so make sure you've selected your preferred ones of those. Enjoy your chosen breakout sessions, and I'll see you soon.